Okay, so after having a stern talk with the color, it decided to work finally. I'm going to fill it on my palette up a little bit more. And now I'm going to decide what parts are going to be metal first. So obviously I'm going to paint the barrel metallic. And the drum magazine, I think, is also metallic. There's this harness part here, which I will do in metallic. Want this armor plate to be metallic in here. I think that's going to be black. I'm going to paint the fireflies as well, but that's the next video then. After this one. So we have a harness part here as well. And the knife, I want to be metallic. Then we have a tank here, which I will do not in metallic, I guess. No, I want this valve metallic. And the exhausts here, also going to be metallic. And I want these parts here where the Panzerfaust can probably slide up and down to be metallic. So basically everything that looks like a mechanism in some sort is going to be metallic. Okay. Okay. Same with the other side. Just like this. And they have this ring here. It's going to be metallic, as I want to have some focus on the mask, and the mask itself is also going to be metallic. As a baseline for everything else that's going to be painted here. Okay, so I think that's it for metallic parts. I don't know what this is, what it should be, but I guess it's some leather. Yeah, so that's the metallic. I'm going to go around and paint the parts on the other two miniatures as well in metallic, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have painted all the metallics and went around and cleaned up the black. I just took some Abaddon black and cleaned up all the metallics except for on the helmet, because the helmet is going to be another color, and I'm going to paint it grayish to introduce some more color variation in the black, because that is kind of needed. I'm using ash and gray for this. And I'm going to paint some ash and gray on the helmets. And maybe, probably, I'm going to use the same color for anything that is fabric on the miniature. Put them out of the way so the camera will focus on the miniature. So that's still kind of black. Off black, basically. And this will get a wash to darken it even further, and then some highlighting. But I think that's the right color for fabric as well. So go in here, do some of the fabric on the arm like this. Other side as well. The fabric of the arm goes around here. Under here. Under here. On the back here. Need to clean this up here. And it looks like I accidentally painted a plate here. Yes, I did. Repaint that black. And then I'm going to paint this part here and here. The fabric down there and in here. So it's not a lot fabric, but it will change the mini dramatically, just like this, and then do the same here on this leg. So that's the fabric and the helmet. Yeah, I do like this. So I will do this for the rest of the miniatures as well, and then I'll be back. Hello everyone, this is the painting tutorial for the Stahltruppen from Konflikt 47, and I'm going to paint them in the Jin-Roh Wolf Brigade style from the anime, which seems fitting for me for those heavy armored troops with gas masks and then red lenses. So I'm going to paint them that way. They are completely black. So I have to do a few things to differentiate different materials. Like there is armor plating, there is just normal material. Some things are going to be metallic. The Panzerfaust is going to be a khaki color because I want some contrast in there to set it off a bit. But that's how I'm going to paint them. And I will start with a metallic and indicate what parts I want to be metallic first. If my color wants to open. So I'm using Iron Hand Steel for that. That's a mid-tone darker metal. Okay, so now all those colors are done. I'm going to paint those small tanks on the back red, and then I will give the miniature an all-over black wash to darken everything down. First of all, I'm going to paint this tank on the back red, just to have a little bit of color on the back side of the minis. Just like that. I'll do this on all of them really quick. So while painting this, I realized that back here there is a metallic armor part, and then there is a second layer in here, and I think I'm going to paint this layer like it is padded. So I'm taking my the dark Reaper mixture again, and I'm going to paint that as well. In the same color as I painted the helmets and the fabric. So take some dark Reaper and I will mix it with a little bit of black so it's a bit darker. I think I used Ashen Grey. No. I'm going to use dark Reaper and I'm going to mix it with some black so it's a little bit more blue. So it looks like this. Dark Reaper mixed with black. And I'm going to go and paint this in this slightly different color to imply a padding. So I'm going in here at the back like this. I'm going to do this on all of them. Okay, so now I will wash the whole miniature black with nylon oil. Take a bigger brush. And then I will go around and wash the whole miniature. This will make a difference even on the black, and it will unify the primer and the color I used for cleaning up mistakes. Keep an eye on it so it won't pull too much in certain areas. Like this. I'm going to do the same for the other two, and I'll be back when the washes are dry. Okay, so The washes are now dry, and now I'm going to do some small detail work, like I will use Van Rysien gray, and I will paint this rim. I painted with Dark Reaper, edge highlighted basically. If my Van Rysien gray would like to come out, doesn't. I have to reinvigorate the paint really quick. Okay, so I reinvigorated my paint, and now I can use it again, and I will just use this as an highlight color on the edge here. Okay. So now there's still some wash drying here and pooling. Look. Okay. So I'm going to edge highlight this little gas tank in the back with some Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm just painting it here. Just like this. And I'm going to use my Mephiston Red that is still on the palette. And I'm going to do this and just brighten up the top part of that barrel. I will do that on all of them quickly. The sun again. Do some edge highlights here. Just like this. Like this. Now I'm going to highlight these fabrics and the helmet. So I used Ashen. Yes, I used Ashen Grey for this. So I'm going to go in with Ashen Grey again. And I'm going to prepare some Dawnstone on the palette as well, right next to it. camera. So first of all, I'm going to use Ashen Grey to reintroduce the base color just on the most prominent parts. Maybe I should do it in camera. Not a lot to do. Most prominent fabric folds that are visible. Then I'm going to do the helmet, this front part here. I'm going to push it back a bit. And then on top of this dome, just reintroducing the base color. Do the same on the other ones. Biggest folds on getting this color. And the front of the helmet here, and the top of the helmet. Again, fold, fold, fold here, fold in here, here, fold in here, and helmet, front and top. Okay, so now I'm going to mix my Ashen Grey 50/50 with the Dawnstone. So I get a slightly lighter color. And I'm going to use a finer brush for this. Now I am going to highlight edges of the folds that are most prominent with this color then. And I'm going to paint this edge of the helmet. And a little bit of the top as well. Towards the front, just like glazing. Like this. So I'm this. Again. Just glazing the paint towards the front of the helmet. Need a little bit more water. Do a bit more here as well. Going back to a little bit of Asian grey, just blend it in, because I went overboard with the bright color, so I'm trimming it down again. Just like this. Again along the edge here, and some water in the brush, and then just glaze it on the top here. Just a bit. This. And now I'm going to use Dawnstone in its pure form, and I'm just going to touch some of the fabric edges and the front edge of this helmet just under the eyes. Just above the eyes, not under the eyes, above the eyes. Just touching some fabric folds and the edge above the eyes. There we go. Now I'm going to highlight the metallics. I'm going to use Style of silver, very, very bright silver. And I'm just doing a few things with this. So first of all, I'm going to get a small dry brush, dip it in the paint and get rid of the excess. And then I'm going to dry brush the weapons like this. And this back part here, just touch it slightly, lightly. Oh yeah, the dagger. This. Some slight touches are sufficient to have some effect. That's that. And now I'm using my fine brush and I'm going to highlight those parts up here with lines along these tracks where the Panzerfaust can swivel around. Just some line work on the topmost parts. Just like that. And there's this front cage part. I'm going to do an edge highlight and leave the corners brighter, so only as wide as the face is. That's enough. Just like this. So metallics are done, fabrics are done, those red parts are done. Now I'm going to think about how I want to highlight those plates, and I think I want them to look like shiny metal. To do this, I'm going to use brownstone and ashen gray again. And what I'm going to do is, let's have a look at the palette. So here's my Dawnstone and Ashen Grey and the in-between color. And I want something like this in-between color, but a bit brighter. So I'm going to mix in some more of the Ashen Grey, just like this. And now I'm diluting it with a little bit of water. And now I'm going to think about where light is hitting. So here on this part and down here on this part. And this part here. And I'm I'm roughly sketching some light onto this miniature. A little bit over the edge here. So, like this. And I also need a bit of black on my palette. Just a small amount. And I'm going to mix it with this Ashen Grey Dawnstone. And I'm just smoothing out some of those harsh lines I just made. And for the darkest parts in the middle, I'm reintroducing full ebony black. Just like that. And now I'm going for Ulfen Grey. My palette. And I'm going to edge highlight all the edges with this color. So there's an edge in the middle here. I'm going to paint this. And on here, this. Like this. And I'm going to do some very, very small lines going from the color I sketched in towards the corner. And I want one long line and a small line right next to it. A long line and a small line next to it. Everywhere I introduced color, I will do this. I will use a long line, small line, a long line, and a small line. And I'm going back with some Abaddon Black and just clean this up where the line is a little bit too thick, like here, like this. Also where I wobbled around at the edge highlight stage. I'm going to do this as well. Just thinning the lines with the black. That looks like shiny metal to me. Could improve, obviously. There's a lot to improve. I'm not an expert in doing stuff like this. I'm actually quite bad at this, but I have some, and have an understanding of the basics. I'm going to glaze some of the light gray here again, just to have it look a little bit smoother. I think I'm going to introduce it to this corner here as well. And this here needs to be a bit more black. That looks like it works. Maybe some more color here and here. Yeah, that's better. And now I use some, where's my white? Pure white. There we have it. White skull. Just some pure white. And that's for corners. So this corner you get some white. This one gets some white. This one gets white. And here only the sharp corners of the armor plates getting some white edge. And then all the edges that have those lines I painted on get a little bit of the white where they meet with the edge. So also this middle line gets some white. My camera does struggle a bit focusing on those small lines. just like that. Now I'm going to go around and paint all the plates like this. I'm always looking at my light coming from above, and wherever it is shiny, so for example here, this part I will paint, this part I will paint, and then it will look like it's hit from the light and it is kind of metallic. So I will go around and do this, and I'll be back after that. I just noticed I did a mistake. Those lines should go in the same direction as the other ones. So I will redo this real quick. I paint over them with my gray. Smooth out the gray with black. Go full black here. Take my Ultham gray. Go long line, small line. That's better. Do some gray as well here. Those small lines should always come from the direction of the light. And I'm going to thin out the lines I made here. Make those lines look thin. Just like that. I think I need some black in the corner here. Contrast. And I need to reintroduce the long line. Perfect. Like this. So I go back and paint the rest. Okay, so this is how they look now, with all the armor plates done. And now I will put some texture paste onto the bases real quick, because that will take a lot of time to dry. I use some astrogranite. And while this dries, then I can continue to work on the minis themselves. So little bit. There's a little bit too much of the paste everywhere, so I'm going to pull it off. So I get a proper, even texture on the base. Just like this. I do this on all of them now, and then I'll be back after a while, as it still needs to dry a bit before I can work on the miniatures themselves. Okay, so after I did all the bases, I think I'm going to highlight this red tank in the back a bit more, because it looks a bit flat. So I will take some Wild Rider red, and I will take Troll Slayer orange, and hopefully I can do something about how that looks. The orange does not work with me today. There we go. Okay. So I have my red and my orange. And first of all, I'm going to go in with my red and paint the topmost part of this tank. Like this. On the side here as well. Now I'm taking a little bit of the orange and just touch the most upper part. Make a little line here. And I let it mix with the red a little bit. Let's look. That does look a little bit better. Now I'm going to black line those bands with a little bit of a pen in black. So I'm going in here, paint a line, go to here, paint a line, here and there. Now it looks a little bit more bright, and I will do the same for the rest of them. So one red, the top side here, and on the flat part up here, and then some orange, touch it here and here, make a line up here, blend it a bit with the red. Black line here, there, and the last one. And I touched the texture paste. That is not yet completely dry. Always open your eyes before touching a model. Okay, and now I will take white square, and I will paint all the lenses in white. Use slightly bigger brush. So we'll go in. And fill those lenses here. And on the sides here. Just like this. Do it again. More in camera. Going in. And somewhat flooding the lens with my white. Doesn't need to be very neat, because I'm going to do something later. Now I will let this dry. And now I have a few leather parts. Also, I attached another Panzerfaust to the MG guy, so everyone has one. And now I'm going to paint all those straps here, and this belt in the back white as well, as a foundation color, base color, because I'm going to use some contrast on them. And I just noticed I forgot to highlight something here. So I'll do that as well. Long. Some black, and clean up this line. I think this line shouldn't be here. More like there. Yeah, that's better. like this. And I will do this for all the models now. And then I will let the white dry because that takes some time. It's very diluted. And then I will continue work on them. Be back in a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to use some bloodletter. That's an old glaze color. You could use any of the newer contrast reds. That is bright red. And then I am going to take this color and flood the eyes just like this, and on the left and the right here. Okay, so I let this dry and work on it later. And I'll be back in a minute. Okay, after looking at the bases, so now those are the eyes after the paint is dry. And I will continue to do something with them. But first, I was looking at the bases and I thought they were very bland right now. So I took some plastic sprue and cut it into pieces. And I will glue them randomly onto the base. Be back. Okay, so I went ahead and glued some of them on the bases. They need to dry a little bit. I super glued them on, and after they are dry I will just prime them black with some just some color, and then I will paint them red. First of all, I can see that the color doesn't want to stay here. Why though? Okay, guess I have to paint this the old-fashioned way. Just using some wild rider red, filling the spots that didn't want to take the color well. Okay, so I let that dry. Paint those things black and red, and then I will continue to work on the eyes for the models. Okay, so I primed the small bricks in black, and now I'm going to paint the eyes. So I will use the Tross layer orange and wild red I already have on my palette. Mix them 50-50. Just like this. And I will go in and I will paint the eyes a bit more. And also those lamps on those two sides. just like this. Going to do the same here. Model. I need to clean this up a little bit. Some black. I want black line. The eye here, there. That's better. And I went too far here as well. So I'm going to reapply black. Clean this up a bit. And for him as well. So in here, here, and for the eyes as well. And I want to blackline them as well. Spilled a bit too much. And I need a little bit of shadow just under the eyes. Just like that. So those bricks will still need to dry some more. I will let them and I will continue then. Be back. Okay, so the bases are now dry finally, and the bricks as well. Now I'm going to do the last highlight for the eyes. I just take full Troros layer orange. And dot it like this. Like this. And the last one. Now the eyes are done. Now I will use a brownish red. It's Hull red from AK. You could use corn red or something. I'm going to paint the little bricks I made with this. very brown red. You could use just straight red, but I like this as a base color for bricks. I will paint them real quick. Just like that. It's done. Now I take some Cygor brown contrast paint. This one. And I will paint the parts I made white with this. So I just paint it on. Full focus. Just like this. I do this for the minis, let it dry, and then I'll be back highlighting. Oh, I missed a spot here. Highlighting the leather. So I'll be back. Okay, so now that that's dry, I am taking some scrag brown and some towelite ochre. If it wants to focus, towelite ochre on my palette, and then I'm going to mix it a bit. So around 50-50. I'm just using it to darken the ochre a bit. And then I'm going to highlight the leather a little bit with it. Just to have it look like it has depth. just like this. Now I'm going to use pure tall light ochre and touch some corners with it. Just the ones on the top side of the leather stripes is enough. And here, just like that. So the leather looks a bit more like leather. I go around and do this for all the minis, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, the leather is done. Now I will take some Mephiston red, and I will use my reddish brown on the palette, and I will just make a highlight color out of this, mostly Mephiston, some of the reddish brown, and then I will just sketch the bricks a bit. Just some paint variation for the bricks. Doesn't need to be perfect and does not need to be with any sense whatsoever. Just add some color to the bricks. Like this. We'll continue with them later. Now, there are two things left on the models, the Panzerfaust, and also there is material here between the fabric and the leather and the plates, which I did not paint yet properly, so I will highlight this with some dark Reaper and some resin gray. I will do this rather quickly. There's not a lot to do. Just mostly dark Reaper and a little bit of thin resin gray. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. And I just add a bit of the thin resin gray to the color to have it look like this, and that's diluted a lot. And I'm just going to paint those parts a little bit, just on the raised areas with the diluted paint. It looks splotchy now, but when it dries, it will look good. There are some parts here that need this, and on the front. Here. And that's all that's needed. That is needed for this. As you can see, when it dries, it will just look like a placed highlight. Even though it's just very thin paint, I just put it on here, let it dry. Let's do this for all the minis real quick. And then I will continue with the base. So that's easy to do. Next. This highlight is not really noticeable, but it does give the miniature something, or some coherence. As the primary focus is on the face and the shiny metal armor anyway, so that's just for some coherence, because if it's very off in color, the eye will look for the off-colored spots, which we don't want, or which at least I don't want. This. Going to add some of this onto the helmet as well. Only to the front, because I think a little bit of blue in the grey might look quite nice. Okay. So now I use some non-oil, wash the bases with it and the bricks. I'm just adding it generously. And this will tie the splotchy highlights I did on the bricks as well together. Together as well together. Looks like I have some green on the palette that is reactivating. I'll just add some drops of non-oil directly onto the base and mix it so the green is still there but will dissipate, which is fine as a color on the base. I'm wasting a little bit of wash here, but for the sake of coherence, I think it makes sense. And now I'm gonna take some Karak stone, and now I finally will paint the Panzerfaust. So we'll go in and paint this in this very light color and give the miniature another thing, or give the eye another thing to focus on. So my opponent will see that those ones have Panzerfäuste. Like that. I will do this for the rest of them as well, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so those are painted now with Carrick stone. I had to paint them twice to make it cover well. And now I'm taking some Agrix Offshade wash, and I will wash them with that. Just like that. I'll do this for all of them. Now I will let this dry, and I will highlight it with Bone. And then I let the base dry, do some finishing touches, and then those minis are done. So I let it dry. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I think I'm going to use some Carrick stone and highlight this once with that.
So now I use my Chape de Bone, do a very small highlight. Just like this. So that's done. And now I'm going to use my reddish brown I mixed here on the palette to highlight the bricks a bit. And I will dry brush the base now with a little bit of off-white. I'm going to use some orphan gray. Now I will clean up the edge of the bases. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some pigment powder. And just you could just not do this, but I kind of like this, and I'm going to add this powder on those little bricks I made. And now the minis are done. This is how they look. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Have a nice day. Bye.